Mhm. Hello and welcome everybody to our latest live panel discussion as part of our virtual Sustainable Packaging Summit. My name is Elisabeth Skura. I'm the editor-at-large at Packaging Europe. So first of all, apologies for the slight late starting of this panel. We experienced some slight technical difficulties, but hopefully that's all sorted now. So yeah, we can get along with the discussion. And in our virtual panel discussions, we previously often talked about the functional aspects of packaging in the context of sustainability. But of course, packaging's role also is to sell a product to the consumer, especially in the luxury and premium space. And in today's panel, we explore how packaging can give products an extra edge on the shelf and convey a premium image, whilst at the same time not losing sight of sustainability goals. So our panelists from different parts of the value chain today will discuss ways to create premium packaging that does not cost the earth. And at the end of this session, we'll also have time for a few audience questions. So feel free to pop any of these questions for our speakers in the LinkedIn comments, and I'll read them out to our speakers. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to welcome our panelists for this session today, who have kindly taken time out of their busy schedules to be with us today. So we have David Yepes, who is Marketing Director, High Value Solutions for Label and Packaging Materials for Avery Dennison. We have Ville Ribot, who is Technical Product Manager for Barriers at Stora Enso Packaging Materials. We have Pierre-Antoine Henry, who is Head of Marketing Development at Quadpack. And we also have Rowena Lewis, who is CEO and co-founder at Denomination, who is based in Australia. And she's therefore actually staying up very late today to join this panel. I believe it's 1 a.m. where you are. So thank you very much for staying up so late and joining us today. So to get us started, would you all be able to briefly introduce yourselves? Maybe let's start with you, David.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah. Hi, I'm David. I'm a marketing director at Avery Dennison Europe, as Elizabeth said. We are the world leaders in the creation of physical materials, as well as digital solutions for the labeling industry and for a number of other adjacent spaces as well. Thank you.
Great. And Ville, would you like to go next, maybe?
Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. So Ville Ribot, working in Stora Enso roughly 12 years in the development function and on the barriers, as Elizabeth mentioned. So based in Finland, and happy to join the discussion today.
Great. And how about you, Pierre?
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Everybody gets mixed up. It's my parents' fault. Hi, I'm Pierre. I'm head of market development at Quadpack. Quadpack is one of the world leaders in packaging solutions for beauty brands, a B Corp company, and aiming at making a change through alternative, sustainable solutions for the beauty market.
Thank you. And last but very definitely not least, Rowena, could you briefly introduce yourself as well?
Of course, thank you. So I'm Rowena Lewis. I'm co-founder and CEO of Denomination. We're a design agency that specializes in the drinks category. So we look at wine, beer, spirits, cider, seltzers, but literally just in the drinks category.
Great, thank you, Rowena. And I'd like to go around again as well, and would like to ask all of you, could you tell me a bit more about the work your company does in the premium packaging space? So yeah, if we could go around the same order again, maybe, just to keep it easy.
Thank you. So, Avery Dennison invented the self-adhesive label more than 80 years ago. So, in a way, you could almost say that was a very early stage towards premiumization. Now, if you look at fast forward to today, that idea of a self-adhesive label spawned the entire industry. And within this industry, we continue to innovate. We continue to design, manufacture all kinds of labeling materials that are used in what I would say are premiumization sensitive industries, like wine and spirits, like craft drinks, craft foods, beauty, and all sorts of luxury items. Now, more than being a materials provider of all of those different industries that I just mentioned, we also like to play a role in connecting the different ecosystem partners. So, for example, we interact directly with packaging designers, we interact directly with printers, with bottle manufacturers, container manufacturers, and so forth. And of course, directly with the brand owners themselves. And so we provide not only the materials, like I said, but we also provide what I would like to say is thought partnership and thought leadership in this space.
Thank you, David. Ville, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So as some of you hopefully and probably know, Stora Enso, we are a rather wide company. So I will cover more on the division that I'm representing, the packaging materials. So we have five other divisions as well. But Stora Enso, as we are producing mainly in this division paperboard for many different applications, and some senses we also have barriers included in some of the products what I represent more. But to give you some examples that what we are working here, it's of course premium can mean multiple things. So if we look from, for instance, graphical packaging, where we are operating as well, of course, let's say appearances and visual properties are really the key functionalities that we need to embed to the material. So that's applicable to food, cosmetics, pharma, etc. So there is several things that we do in the recipes, etc., to combine a little bit also the performance part, but also of course the sustainability. And in general, I must say that within our company, we definitely strongly believe in sustainability, and that means to us, let's say, CO2 footprint, recycling, and also biodiversity, as we are forest-based company. So it's a critical resource for us. So we need to, of course, take care of it as we are doing today, and even more in future. So premium for us, it's really, it can be sort of divided to, I would say, two categories. One is, of course, the performance part when it comes to my field. So in the barriers, of course, that's very, very crucial over there. But on the other hand, as I said, the sustainability as such is a very key cornerstone. So we are working with introducing and offering also today already barriers that are renewable, some are industrially compostable, some are based on new technologies that are like dispersion coating to improve the recycling. So if I would summarize that up, it's really the sustainability as we see is really the premium that we offer within our products.
Thank you very much, Ville. And Pierre-Antoine, would you like to talk a bit more about what your company does in the premium packaging space?
Sure. So I'm one of the happy ones here because we're caught right into the middle of a lot of plastic bashing, right? No, but it's funny when you see it, because just to start with, 7 years ago, people were still referring to sustainability as a trend, right? And right now we're right in the middle where we're all spending a lot of time and research towards finding circular and sustainable solutions for packaging, no matter the material. So QuadPack historically is one of the world leaders in beauty packaging solutions. Historically, it has the type of, in the product offering that there is, it's mostly around, there is plastic packaging and there is wood packaging, right? And then one thing that really makes QuadPack stand out from the rest is the wood, and I'll come back from it. But from the plastic standpoint, the real challenge that there's been recently is plastic can have a virtue, but not all kinds of plastic have a virtue, right? So it's how do you take plastic packaging for the beauty industry and how do you make it sustainable? And by making it sustainable, there are a few things, but one of them is using circular plastics, so the one that are sorted out and recycled in the best ways. And there's also using more and more recycled content in the packaging. I think later down we can deep dive a bit into how we make this premium, because that's a bit of another angle. But apart from plastic packaging solutions, QuadPack also offers is the world leader in wood for the beauty industry. And wood is an amazing material because it's extremely versatile. It's sustainably sourced from FSC certified sources, for example, like we do. It has a real sustainable journey that can be mapped out and followed, tracked. It can be developed from a clean manufacturing point of view. So typically we invested a lot in clean manufacturing and to transform the material with by emitting the less CO2 as possible, so to checking on a carbon footprint. And wood in itself is a material that if we take care of our environment, take care of the forest, is actually we're able to grow it. So we're not actually taking without giving back to the planet. A part of our offering as well that I need to mention, we also basically we bring solutions to beauty brands, right? And today sustainability is a term that is a bit scary because depending on what you're looking at, if you're looking at carbon footprint, if you're looking at circularity, if you're looking at water usage, and all different criteria, you would find different packaging solutions for different types of needs. But we also offer products with glass to cater for some of the needs. And we are one of the world leaders and one of the first to start looking at transforming biosourced material into packaging that is suitable for the beauty industry. And in this case, we're talking about materials which leave no microplastic behind in their end of life. So all of this together for us, really, there is not one solution. We're really looking at different angles for different types of needs and different types of packaging solutions for the brands. But we're really developing into a company that's bringing service and sustainable packaging solutions, no matter what the brand needs.
Thank you, Pierre-Antoine. And last but not least, Rowena, it's your turn again to talk a bit more about.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So we're in the obviously in the service part of the packaging process, and being a drink specialist, we specialize in lots of different high-end products. So we've been working with the Penfolds brand for 20 years. So that's a great example of I guess our depth of experience in the super premium market. We also work on brands like Dow's for Symington Family Estates to little kind of tiny craft spirits like Battery Point whiskey that's $500 a bottle. So we work right across the sort of pricing chain, but we do have a lot of our experience in that high-end luxury premiumization category.
Great. And yes, I wanted to zoom in a bit on the different things you've mentioned in your introduction. And I was wondering, David, what would you say, what is the role of the label to achieve premiumization of a product?
Yeah, so the label can play a key role in premiumization. When you look at how it does that, you can think of, I would say, three main angles. One, of course, is the aesthetics. So the label provides, a visual, a tactile, the overall sensorial experience that a brand owner can use to tell a complex story, and that complex story can be told really at a glance. If you think about it, in some cases, the label is the first point of contact between the brand and the consumer, when they pick up the product at the shelf. Now, hand in hand with that sensorial experience is the function. The label also needs to perform a number of functions to overcome some of the challenges that the product will experience throughout its life from production to retail to the consumer. That is, peeling, swelling, wrinkling, so changes in the appearance of the label itself. And so these two elements are key in communicating premium to the consumer. And it has been demonstrated. There's plenty of exercises that have shown that that really heavily influences the consumer perception. So one example of such a thing, wine connoisseurs, are given the same wine, but in a different bottle with a different label. And even though they're experts in the field, their read of what the wine characteristics are changes purely because of the effect that that sensorial experience, that functional experience of the label can have. And I would say the third element, and perhaps the most exciting one, looking into the future, is there's an element of connectivity. So the label can be a gateway to connect the physical product. So in case, for example, you're talking about a bottle of wine, to a digital twin of that product on a digital platform. If we use, we all have in our phones are all enabled for NFC, so near field communication. So if we have an NFC tag in a label, we can create what we call here at David Anderson connected products. So when you have a connected product and when you have that digital twin, you give the product the ability to speak to you. And so imagine all the things a product can tell you if a product can speak to you. It can tell you things about the provenance of the raw materials. It can tell you things about the supply and manufacturing journey it went through, which is key for sustainability as well. It can tell you if it's a genuine product or if the product has been tampered with. And most importantly, perhaps it can be a consumer engagement tool. So the product becomes a digital platform for the brand owner to
Looks like
really of a product.
Oh, David, could you probably say the last couple of sentences again? Your screen froze a little bit.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So no, we're just kind of like recapping on that, what it does, a connected product, besides being able to talk to us and tell us everything about the provenance, the manufacturing journey, whether the product is genuine or not, it can also enable the brand owner to interact with the consumer. So the product really becomes a digital platform for the brand owner to do that and interact two ways. Now, this capability, like I was saying, really can greatly enhance the feeling of premiumness of a specific product. And so I would say those are the three categories of premiumization.
Great, thank you. And Ville was wondering what steps can be taken to give paper-based packaging a premium feel.
Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. I would like to divide this a little bit two ways. So, of course, if we look on, as I mentioned, graphical packaging, for instance, it's typically plain paperboard, and of course, the essential over there to get the premium feeling is that it's natural appearance and also feel, haptics, etc. So, in some sense, sort of differentiate from full plastic items, and sort of term natural is very much a premium over there as such already. So, but then if we expand that to solutions as we are in the food packaging as well, where you need today you need certain amount of plastics over there. So there is certain regions in the world that we see that, like in Japan, that performance as such it's a premium, but it's starting to disappear in many other regions. So really, the sustainability is coming more and more as a it can be already as business as usual topic, but it's really going away from let's say technical performance when we talk about barriers, and that of course then makes it a bit of a journey for us to have the very same message with the barrier coated solutions as well, that they are giving you this natural feeling and appearance all the time. So that one way is of course to look new materials. They can be wood-based, chemistry available, and of course research is done very much so. So I would say that it's a little bit divided. So in some sense more haptics, and in some sense the actual technical performance that you get out from the package.
Thank you very much, Ville. And obviously, Pierre-Antoine, you mentioned before Quadpack provides solutions both made from plastics and from wood. And I was wondering, how do you achieve a premium look with those materials?
Yeah, well, not only wood and plastic, and we have a full array of solutions, different materials. But one of the things actually, it goes back to what David was saying, right? It's around decoration. So not even just talking about materials, decoration is important. And of course, we have a decoration hub within Quadpack with some key in-house technologies, which can help you personalize any type of packs, right? And really make an impact on shelf. But it's funny when David was mentioning the labels and the functionality that labels could have in the future, we've also been looking at solutions like this, right? We've been looking at solutions which can directly print on the pack with a decoration, some way for the pack to be connected. We looked at startups. There's a startup that we're working with called Chaos ID, basically, when we can track It can help you track, if the brand's interested, track their products against counterfeiting, but also create content to interact with the consumer, right? Enhancing the user experience. So decoration is a big part of it in packaging also, because you just don't sell a blank pack, right? You decorate it as well, and we do work with a lot of partners on that. On the two materials that you just picked up on, plastic and wood, there different dimensions to have a premium feel to it. Initially, plastic, there's one angle which is towards consumer experience, right? You want to make sure packaging is not just a primary container. Right? Packaging has a function often. So in our own language, we always talk around delivery systems. It can have an applicator, right, to apply the formula. It can have a dispensing system, so like a pump, for example, that just gives you exactly the amount of formula and helps get as much of the product out of the packaging, which we call restitution. And can have the opening, how you open your packaging, and it can also be towards the refill system, right? How do you keep the main bulk of the pack and you just change a bit of the inner? So just in that, how the user experience of interacting with the packaging with the functionality is extremely important in how premium you will feel. You can have an applicator with a cold touch, for example, in order to have that very premium feel for an under the eye cream. So it's not just the material per se; it's the functionality of the pack that impacts the overall feel. In terms of materials, it's weight. Weight is always a very big indicator of premiumization. But in terms of weight, what you want to do is you want to find the balance between weight and sustainability. So typically in plastic, you can look at we're one of the world leaders with a very specific know-how in injecting thick wall PET, for example, and that's a material which we know is well recycled today. And the thing is, you need to make thick wall with a refill system. So basically, you keep the packaging and you just change a small part of it. That's one way to make it a premium towards packaging by injecting thick wall, heavyweight, yet sustainable with a refill system. In wood, it's actually incredible what you can do with wood. There is very and the factory will kill me for that, but very limited. There's endless possibilities towards wood, right? The technology of wood per se, how you work on wood can really help you define any kind of shape, any kind of functionality, and you premiumize wood not just because it's wood, but because of decoration. So, for example, we just launched a full wood lipstick with another partner called Apta for the mechanism, which we call iconic woodacity. And the decoration, there's endless possibilities of decoration. You can overlayer decorations, giving it a unique aspect where every single one of your pack is completely unique and different from the other. There are many things that can bring to life and bring a premium impact to the consumer on wood as well.
Thank you very much, Pierre-Antoine. And yes, Rowena, I wanted to ask your perspective from a design point of view. How can a premium look be achieved?
Well, there's certain genres in drinks design that we tend to work with, and Pierre just mentioned weight, which is something that has been traditionally in the wine and the spirits industry an indicator of premiumness. The heavier the bottle, the bigger the punt, the better the bottle. Obviously, we're having to relook at that thinking from a sustainability perspective. But there are lots of other things that you can dial up or down. Things like paper stocks. Dave mentioned, having really beautiful tactile, textural paper stocks that feel really gorgeous in the hand. Using embellishments like debossing, embossing, foiling, etc. And then there's the actual basics of graphic design. So, really looking at your typography, your crafting of all of the elements, the amount of white space you have and what you do with that. And, just getting down to simple things like color semiotics can really help elevate the premium perception of a pack design. So there's lots of tools within our kit to really push premiumization in the drinks category, some of which have implications when we talk about sustainability, which I'm sure you'll be mentioning very shortly, Elizabeth.
Absolutely, yes. My next question is obviously going to focus all around sustainability, and I wanted to put the question to all of you. what would you say are the particular sustainability challenges in your respective areas of the packaging industry, and how do you work towards addressing it? So yeah, I'm not going to ask you sort of all individually. You can just sort of pipe up when you're ready to speak. That should hopefully work.
I can chime in if you want. Yeah, I mean, when you look at labeling, I would say when it comes to the challenges, there's a number one, and we're tackling them, and I'll go through some of them. Number one is I would say is the quality and the availability of recycled materials. We have created entire portfolios of labeling materials that are made with 100% recycled sources, both be it papers as well as films. However, we need to gain scale there in order to break what I would say is the sort of a chicken and egg cycle. Those materials tend to be more expensive. They are produced in smaller batches at our suppliers, or they have constrained supply chains. So for us, I mean, these solutions need to become mainstream, if we want to sort of break that paradigm. Then number two, I would say, is the reduction of material itself. I think Elizabeth touched on it a little bit as well on the usage of materials. So for us, creating labels that perform and look the same but use lower grammages is something that is important as well. We're doing that. We have a range that does that, where we look at sort of unleashing the power of less. But we have a way to go, especially when we come to the premium space. Then I would say third is probably enabling reuse and recyclability. We got to make sure that our labeling materials don't interfere with recycling of the containers they're attached to. So we've created solutions like Clean Flake or like wash labels that easily separate from the container, or simply we offer monomaterial solutions so that there's no need for separation. But then again, we need to gain some more scale here. And I would say lastly is the collection. So when you think about our product as a labeling, half of our product is packaging of the label itself, is the liner that carries the label. So we also gotta offer solutions for that, and we're offering printers at the moment, end users, so brand owners, a program to collect our own waste. We call it Avery Dennison Circular, and so we try to make it easy for them to collect and return, whether it's our material or not. We do believe we have to, for this to work. We gotta make it a sort of an industry-wide solution. So I would say those are probably the four main areas. Gave you on how we're tackling those.
Yeah, I mean, I think our industries coincide quite a lot, and I think the recycling of the PET liners is a really big deal when you see how much plastic there is, and working both with paper stocks but also with foil. So making sure that our clients are insisting that waste is recycled and comes back into this circular system. Glass is a really big issue for us. So obviously the weight, which I mentioned before, the lack of reusability that we see in the market, really, given the supply constraints that we've got with glass, it's something that we need to be focusing on heavily as an industry, how we can not just recycle the glass, but really reuse the glass, because that's actually where we'll really start to make inroads into more sustainable solutions. And then the last thing I would say is plastic stoppers. How do we make sure that we get at scale recycled plastic in all of the stoppers that we use in the drinks category?
I think it all goes towards around the same thing. I think it's a very broad question you asked, Anita, altogether, because there's so many angles you can take to answering it, right? Well, what we do is for every pack we develop, nowadays we do what we call a life cycle analysis, right? Life cycle assessment, and you can measure, I think, up to more than between 10 and 15 different criteria, but the most commonly used are usually around carbon footprint, circularity, which implies recycling. But you also have water usage, you have such thing as waste potential, etc. But if I just go back on how carbon footprints and circularity impact our packaging market for beauty brands, you can really gel it down to three simple words, right? What, where, and how, right? If you're looking at the carbon footprint, typically the what is basic. What are you going to produce? What are the types of packaging that you're going to do? And here you're trying, of course, to lightweight them, right? You're designing your packaging for sustainability. So using as little material as possible, using as much PCR, so post-consumer recycled product as possible is extremely important. The where is, and we're seeing that huge trend around the regionalization of production. There's a real challenge that we have to rethink our supply chains in order to produce in the region where we fill and where we sell, because there is a very strong impact of transport on the carbon footprint of the product. And if you look at circularity, which is mostly around the what and the how, towards the what, really, again, you lightweight, you use recycled materials, but you're also making sure that you design products which can fit with our existing recycling streams. Because the challenge is not so much to design products which are theoretically recyclable, right? It's to design products which today are sorted. So first of all, you cannot control which streams they're put, but if they're put in the right stream, they can be sorted with the current technologies that we have and then recycled. So you're looking at shifting away from materials such as acrylic in plastic, so SAN, PETG, and you're looking at focusing towards PP, PE, PET. And not only that, but you have some changes into designing the packaging so that they're not too small and don't fall in the holes of the sorting process, and you can recycle them. So that's a very big challenge that we're having today, is how do we tackle the fact that we're not in full control of everything, and that there is a huge bottleneck also of what happens at the sorting and recycling level. So we need much more to work closer to the end-of-life partners that we have in that area as well.
Yeah, maybe I would like to comment on and continue from the recycling perspective. Of course, in the paper and paperboard and container board field, this is one of the most widely collected and recycled material already, but still definitely there is more to do. So down from the collection systems, etc. So we said that already in Europe that, let's say, the infrastructure is not really up to the level of ambition that, for instance, legislative bodies seem to soon have and good. So there is clearly a lot of work to do as an industry here. We also in Europe see as a pioneering, we are as a Stora Enso, we are mainly present in Europe, of course, globally as well, but Europe is our foundation. And I would like to point out one on my personal field on the barriers, when we combine, as we've seen in many areas, that sustainability, of course, it's a very wide range of different themes and a sort of umbrella of different topics. So we definitely see good results in some areas to replace full plastics in terms of CO2 front. We have brands stating up to 90% CO2 reduction, but we also see as a risk that there can be rather dogmatic view what comes to legislation and regulation that is up and coming and currently debated, that these are not supporting or in worst case even preventing this type of utilizing different materials as in their advantages, like paperboard for mechanical properties, and then certain level of barriers, whether it's plastics, etc., to create these functionalities. But then if not fulfilling the existing needs for the recycling system, it's of course something that we should work on as an infrastructure in the recycling, not basically prohibiting in our point of view these type of materials. So we can, as said, create bit dogmatic views in terms of recycling, not being undermining the importance of that, but there is also other themes as discussed here with the team, that CO2 is also one big part that we need to resolve as an industry as well.
Thank you, Ville. Yeah, there's definitely lots remains to be done on all sorts of different levels, but yeah, it's nice to see in these panels that there's a real awareness of the challenges and the real willingness to sort of work towards them. Yeah, I'd also like to look at some the general trends of the landscape, and I was wondering, from all of your positions, have you noticed demand for premium packaging increase or decrease in recent years, or has it remained unchanged? And I was wondering also, in that context, do you think that consumer perceptions and demand for sustainable products have changed the premium packaging landscape?
Yeah, maybe I can go, because it's funny how I would love to give you a simple answer on this one. But the truth is that we're seeing two polar opposite trends. Right? On one end, yes, there is an ultra premiumization that's happening. We see a lot more brands, new brands even, that are starting from nowhere, positioning themselves in upper masstige or prestige from the get-go. We see a lot of legacy brands which are going towards very exclusive collections, so premiumizing their packs. We also think very strongly that sustainability is a driver for ultra premiumization, because as you look towards maybe a pack that you want to refill, you only keep a pack that you love, right? So that gives you the opportunity to have a wider array of materials, products that you can develop, and you keep the pack and just change the inner, for example. So there is clearly that trend, which opens up a lot of opportunity in terms of creativity and in terms of premiumization for some brands. But at the same time, we also see the opposite, right? Of a kind of a back to basic. A lot of products nowadays, they also come back to market and they have a very simple message, right, to the consumer base. And it doesn't mean they're positioning towards more of mass or early masstige. It means that basically they're just talking about the essentials. It's just you pay for what you need, right? And you have sometimes even they market the products and it's the name of the ingredient per se that happens on the products. So they're going away from all what they would market as the fluff, and they just focus on the essentials to talk to their consumers. Yet their price point is still pretty much masstige or prestige. And from a consumer perspective, I would not going to be too political on this one, because I would say that theoretically what we could see in the past is the higher you go in prestige, the less they cared about sustainability in the past. And that is something which is true in terms of the degree of attention to sustainability tends to be less important for some brands the upper you go in terms of positioning. However, there's a huge shift that's coming in, right? And some brands have been leading that shift and taking that on board. Like typically, like the number one collection range from Chanel, for example, they're really going towards a biosourced material, really changing the game in terms of the sustainability that they bring towards. But it's also that the brands know very well that maybe if their current consumer base, which have a purchasing power, don't really care or don't care as much, the one that's coming, the Generation Z, they care. And they're the ones that's gonna have the money in a few years' time. So they better, and they will not accept whether you're masstige or prestige. They will tend to not accept and not be conciliant and easy on the brands, which actually are faking it, are doing greenwashing, are putting products that hurt the planet. So they are starting that shift, but there are different rhythms.
Yeah, I see indeed a similar picture from where we're standing. I mean, there's a clear increase in the demand of premium labels. I'd say as the middle class has grown around the world, I think brand owners also around the world are listening to consumers being increasingly more conscious. So they want products that are more sustainable, more authentic, and they offer them a more individual experience. So from that perspective, we absolutely see an increase on the demand for premium products or premiumization of labels. At the same time, indeed, premiumization, when you look at it, is all about desirability. And a sustainable packaging is more desirable by a growing number of consumers. So inherently, premium packaging should be sustainable to enhance that premiumness itself. You have to be sustainable. So I think a lot of consumers, and that doesn't apply to everybody, but I think a growing number of consumers do not choose based on the premium quality itself or on some other attributes of the product alone, but also on how the product is made, how the product is packaged. So that is something I would say that is also playing a role in us seeing more of that premiumization supporting the case for sustainable premiumization of packaging.
Yeah, it's interesting how the consumer perception of what is premium is also really shifting. So, you see, if you look back a decade, a lot of that premium packaging was about sort of glitz, gold foil, and it was bigger and shinier than everything. And now, you're really seeing natural products, natural color palettes, natural stock really coming in as consumers are really recognizing, as you said, that really lovely kind of coordination between sustainability and premiumness. So when they're actually in sync together, you can create something that's really desirable for lots of consumers, but particularly in the young.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, of course, with all of you. So the sustainability is coming as elemental to have the premium perception for sure. And but one thing that maybe we are also starting to see is that sustainability is becoming a little bit more commodity as well quite soon. So it's interesting to see that our brands and consumers willing to pay the extras, as was mentioned by, I don't recall who already, but there is definitely certain cost implications as well if we go to recycled materials, if we go to renewable materials. So we are used to very much on the fossil, whatever it is in the packaging field. So, but in our perspective, yes, everybody is more and more aware of the packaging material, and it's a decision is made not only about visuals. I wouldn't neglect the visuals as well. That's definitely what we also see. That's still in the paperboard side, that the printability and appearance, they are still very relevant to brands, and not only the sustainability.
Thank you. So yeah, I get the impression that you all agree that actually sustainable packaging and a sustainable looking packaging can actually be a selling point in a premium packaging space.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think just maybe to add one last thought there. I mean, I think that the sustainable looking design can create that premium desirability that we were saying. However, I think you can also go well beyond that, and you can interconnect the stories of, in the case, for example, of the label, how the label is created. For example, using byproducts. We have a range that uses byproducts from sugarcane or byproducts from the wine, or let's say the grapes in wine production. So you can have a bottle of rum or a bottle of wine that have a label that has been made with those same byproducts that were used in the production of the wine or the rum itself. So I think you can really have a very good base, not only from the aesthetics, from the sustainable looking point of view, but also for the storytelling, from a brand perspective, that really goes well beyond that sustainable look.
Thank you, David. And I wanted to look at there's obviously quite a lot of debate going on in the industry about, paper versus plastics, or, plastics versus other materials. And then obviously there's metals and glass as well. Obviously, since you all come from different corners of the industry, I wanted to get your opinion on what, from your perspective, makes sense from an eco-design point of view and from a sustainability point of view, also sort of incorporating the premium image and how this all fits with brand activities.
Yeah, so I think maybe I can have a go real quick. I think the paper versus plastics debate is probably filled with a lot of misconceptions, and yes, typically paper substrates are perceived, I would say, by the vast majority of consumers as being more sustainable. Even the EU, when you look at legislation like the Green Deal, focuses heavily on plastics, and it is true. Paper is inherently biodegradable, and so it's more easily reused. However, making paper is far more energy consuming than making films in general. It also, films tend to be more efficient from a carbon footprint sometimes because of them being lighter comparatively to paper. So the issue with films is really not the films themselves, but is obviously the fact that they're not biodegradable, and they are not used or made from renewable resources. So the real enemy is not the plastic, but is really the collection. Is the collection, the recycling of plastics themselves. So from an eco-design point of view, I think choosing plastics made of recycled content, as well as designing packaging that does not contaminate the recycling process of plastics, is the key, really, to really be able to still use the unique properties of plastic. We have in our portfolio such products that are made out of recycled films or bioresins. So as the label goes, we also have solutions that do not contaminate the recycling process. Now, as far as the consumer perception goes, and therefore I would say the brand choices, what we continue to observe is that indeed paper, wood, glass, or even aluminum are still preferred over plastics aesthetically, I would say. However, plastics and their functionality, and I think we were alluding to it earlier in some comments, those functionality advantages can also provide a better consumer experience in certain types of products, in beauty, for example. And that consumer experience is also part of premium packaging feel in itself. So I think plastics do have a space there.
Yeah, sorry.
Ladies first.
We have a team, a model within our business called Future Proof, which is all about how we can drive sustainability in the drinks industry with our clients and partner supplier partners. As part of that, we do lots of consumer research, and we've had the privilege of looking at other consumer research from our clients. And when you look at how consumers perceive sustainability, plastic is really, really low. Essentially, glass is high, as a vessel. The consumers believe that is a very natural product, and to an extent they're right. I mean, there is a lot of energy that goes into producing them, but at least when they go into the ground, they're inert. They don't leak anything. But the glass and paper, certainly, when you look at, when consumers have to rank order of sustainability, plastic is the one that comes last in all of the studies that we've seen within the context of the drinks industry, and that is quite different to beauty and fragrances, etc. But it's an interesting one. And especially given we have very limited supply of glass and recycled paper, it's a challenging one.
Yeah, let's say if I continue from the board side, so of course we definitely see maybe we are a little bit witnessing more paper-minded exchange with brands, but we definitely see that paperboard has a very positive pull from brands. So a lot of major global brands are looking possibilities to shift from full plastic items to paperboard. And let's say the benefits that they see are definitely CO2. So there is certain LCA calculations supporting this, and of course the existing recycling what comes to paperboard. So these are really the themes. But I would still like to highlight here what I already mentioned, that with certain solutions, when you combine the plastics and paper or paperboard, they could be very holistic solutions. And this is exactly what I also mentioned earlier, that there is a risk that in Europe especially, legislation and regulation is leading industry so that we need to use extensive amounts of plastics, and that's of course a bit contradicting the consumer perception. But we also need to be, as an industry, in our opinion, very aware of this, and also educate all the stakeholders on what is sort of holistically good from sustainability perspective, because as said, it's of course a wide range of different themes, and they are not always going to the same direction, unfortunately.
And maybe just to conclude, I'm going to take a slightly higher view, because there's an infinite debate right now on the types of materials, the pros and cons, depending on where they are produced, what you are producing, for what end. But just maybe not forgetting that sustainability is much more than just materials. It's also the way you do things. So for us at Quadpack, we believe we're the first beauty packaging manufacturer to be certified B Corporation. And B Corporation is a benefit corporation. That means that it's a very lengthy process to be certified. A very well-known one is Patagonia, for example. And it means that you're a corporation that's aiming at having a positive impact that you're measuring on most of your stakeholders, on all your stakeholders. Meaning you're talking about your customers, you're talking about the environment, you're talking about the communities, you're talking about your own employees. And overall, I think that if you push sustainability to a bigger level, it's not just it's a question of the impact you want to have a bit on the world, of how you do things. And for me, we need to push it also further than just the material debate, right? And there are certifications that exist. There are very strong commitment and engagement from some companies. And we believe for us that sustainability is both the product that we sell, but also how we conduct business and the positive impact that we have by doing so. So I would just wanted to broaden it out a bit, because sometimes we also get focused on the small things, but there are some very strong and bigger things as well that can be taken into consideration.
No, absolutely right.
Yeah, thank you all of you. And I wanted to wrap up this panel discussion by asking you sort of in summary again, how can we make sure that premium packaging and sustainability aren't contradictions, but kind of complementing factors?
Yeah, I think when you look, I mean, to begin with, I think we should not lose quality when it comes to gaining on sustainability. So that remains the homework for us. At the same time, I would say we should not sacrifice on labeling materials sustainability capabilities for the sake of premium aesthetics. So you have to manage the two. That's why I would say eco-design is so important. And I think we mentioned that a bit earlier in the discussion. With eco-design as a guideline for the entire development process, then we can shape how products are affecting sustainability throughout the value chain, throughout the entire life cycle of the product, from selecting the right materials to how it's made, to how it affects the packaging it goes onto. In case of a label, how is it affecting the container that it goes onto later on in the life of the container, and how ultimately that product is recycled. I would say from my side as a final thought, we often see consumers as the end users of our product, but I think we also alluded earlier, the real end users of our products are really recyclers and reclaimers. So when we design products, both from the packaging, the container, the label, etc., we need to design with those groups in mind as well. So not only from a premiumization point of view with the consumer in mind, but also with the real end users, which are the recyclers and the reclaimers.
Mm.
I can jump up to conclude as well. But I think premiumization is an opportunity for sustainability, and it goes a bit both ways, right? Sustainability is an opportunity for premiumization, in the sense that we know that sustainability is not just a material; it's something else. So I already mentioned the fact that you ultra premiumize your pack, and you keep a pack, so a pack that you keep and love, and just refill and reuse. That's a very important one that drastically reduces the carbon footprint of your pack, for example. But overall, it's really around the fact that it's how to say this. There is no other way, right? If it's not us doing it and making a sustainable solutions premium, then it's going to be the consumer choosing for us, or it's going to be the governments that are following the consumer needs, sometimes in a very simplistic way of doing it, right? Because when legislation comes up, more often than not, it's basically very narrow-minded, and you end up with a very big problem to actually follow up and to be able to implement it from an industrial point of view. So we have no other solutions than to enable sustainable solutions to look premium as well. And it's just maybe a shift of mindset also from the brands, which is that enable refillability, enable new materials, explore new materials as well. We sell, for example, ourselves wood. wood can be beautiful wood with a gold leaf imprint. So it can be multi-layered decoration. So decoration is also maybe the next frontier in terms of sustainability, where you can have some very simple looking pack, but by the decoration made in a sustainable way and not impacting on the end of life, like was mentioned, can really give you a beautiful feel. So for me, it's a land full of opportunity, and sustainability is reshuffling a bit the cards. But most of all, it's just bringing us on a path to a better tomorrow, which we're very happy to engage into.
Yeah, I think from a design perspective, the way to make sure that they're not contradictions is to really embrace the opportunities, as you just said, Pierre, of premiumization and sustainability. And when you embrace them and actually make them part of your brand and part of your packaging story, it actually creates a really compelling a brand opportunity for clients and consumers. And we've done that with a number of different brands now that we've launched that are, all about the sustainability footprint of the brand. We just launched one called Wise Wolf that 100% recycled bottles, 100% post-consumer waste, paper stocks, recycled plastic in the stopper. It was like the whole thing was 95.1% recycled, and the sustainability went right throughout the value chain, right from the soil, the vine collection, etc. So having a brand that was all about sustainability at a premium price point actually was just about embracing each other and then coming up with an opportunity that consumers really love.
Yeah, I think we have a very, let's say, positive outlook if you look at that consumers, as discussed today, is they are starting to associate sustainability to premium, or even requiring that sustainability is a must, as mentioned here. And if you look at the industry-wide, we have, of course, all the details and knowledge on this, and of course, certain things to be done. So what remains is to have all the sustainability themes on feedstocks to recycling in place, and then infrastructure, and then translate those facts to consumers in an appropriate manner. So, as said, we have the details, and also we need to act according to facts. That's our perception.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Will, and everybody. That's a great note to end this discussion on. We have time for maybe one quick audience question before we close. Somebody's asking. It's mainly a question for the packaging producers. Do you confer with mechanical recyclers at the first design stage of a new packaging regarding recyclability properties? This lady says, I work in Indonesia, and I know from our partner, Indonesian Plastic Recycling Association, that they're not really asked about stuff like that. So, just a quick question to...
Yeah, it's the answer is really not enough. I've got to say, really, that, as we're building this new, we need to collaborate with many stakeholders, and this is sustainability is complex, so it needs to be holistic. Surely not enough. We're not conferring enough because things are moving fast. Even in recycling, you have mechanical recycling, which has its own process, and so it owns its own needs in resorting. But you also have chemical recycling, right, which has other constraints. So surely this is something that I think as we are doing, of course, but we're not doing enough today. And that we're going to look to improve drastically, because at the end of the day, like was rightly said just before, the end consumer is are the sorting and the recycling stream. And that's how we can enable the best end of life for our products and the best circularity. So this is something that we clearly mapped out as where there's a lot of insufficiencies right now, and that we really need to cover and improve.
Antoine, does anybody else have anything to add to that? Fantastic. That's all we have time for today, unfortunately. Thank you, everybody in our audience, for joining this session today. And just as a reminder, this panel discussion is part of our Sustainable Packaging Summit regular series of virtual panels. And look out for more discussion panels in a similar vein in the coming months. And for details and access, check our LinkedIn or sign up on the Packaging Europe website. And another reminder, if you've already booked your ticket for Packaging Europe's Innovation Horizon conference in Amsterdam next week, we look forward to seeing you there, of course. If not, it's not too late to get your ticket. And for that as well, you can find more information on our website. So yeah, that just leaves me to thank our speakers today. That's David Jeppes, Wille Ribot, Pierre-Antoine, and Rowena Coe-Lewis. Thank you very much for being on a panel today and for a really great discussion.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you
Elizabeth.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.